All right, hello everyone. It is April 4th, and this is lesson 11, week 11 for engineering ethics at NJIT. I'm Dan Estrada, I'm the instructor. Let's jump into the class. Yeah, okay, so we're on lesson 11 this week. We've been doing our research projects for the last couple of weeks. There have been a lot of questions about the research projects and about the grading and about Turnitin. So my goal today is just to answer all those questions to make sure that all the questions are answered. So the first big thing I wanted to say, so the way the Turnitin works is that it checks what you wrote against all of the papers in its database and against everything online. There might be a lot of hits on a paper. Not every one of those hits necessarily means you plagiarize. And the most important thing to understand is that Turnitin does not catch plagiarizers. Turnitin just looks for similarities in the documents. It's my job to catch the plagiarizers, and that means I have to look at each paper and analyze it myself to see if it counts as plagiarizing. So for instance, Turnitin, if you have a quote in your report and Turnitin finds that quote in other sources, it will flag it as potentially plagiarizing. But if you put it in quotes and you cite your sources, and that's not plagiarizing at all, it's perfectly fine for you to do that. It'll come up as something that gets hit on Turnitin, but that's not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if when I look at it, I think that it's legitimately plagiarizing. So for the last few years, I've been doing this by hand. I've been basically copy and pasting parts of reports into Google and searching to see if I can find a report. But that took forever. It took me like 3 weeks to do plagiarism checking for all the courses. So I'm using Turnitin this semester for the first time to try to do this by hand. So the way that this is going to work is that I'm going to grade your reports as normal, and then I'm going to go through Turnitin and look at the plagiarism report. And if it looks like a case of plagiarism to me, then I'll initiate the plagiarism policy in the syllabus. So just to remind you, the policy in the syllabus is that cases of plagiarism get 0 credit for the assignment and get referred to the dean of students, especially if it's a severe case of plagiarism. If it's a case where maybe you didn't fully adequately cite your sources, or maybe there's a small error in your citations, small errors won't rise to that level. I might take points off for significant errors, but if it's a legitimate case of plagiarizing, by which I mean you're just copying and pasting from Wikipedia or whatever, those are the cases that get 0 credit and get referred to the dean of students. Every semester that I've taught this, it's been about 5 or 6 students per class per semester. So that's like 15 students a semester that I'm sending to the dean of students. And I want to be clear, now that you've already written part of the report, that plagiarizing isn't merely copying and pasting. So the most egregious cases is when you're copying and pasting full paragraphs out of Wikipedia. That's clearly plagiarism. That'll definitely get sent to the dean. The more difficult cases, and the ones that take most of my time, are the ones where it's not direct plagiarism, but it's an extended paraphrase. So if you take the Wikipedia article and there's a paragraph in the Wikipedia article, and you just rewrite that paragraph, maybe changing some of the sentences around, changing the grammatical structure, maybe swapping some words out for synonyms. That's called an extensive paraphrase. And that, if you're not citing the sources, that's also plagiarism. And that kind of stuff also gets sent to the dean. So first of all, Turnitin can check that kind of work. And that's the kind of work that I'm sort of most eager to send to the dean, because it's the most explicit case of cheating. If you're just copying and pasting off of Wikipedia, you're not doing a whole lot of work, and it's really easy to check. And I don't sweat that stuff so much. But if you're doing a whole lot of work to plagiarize, meaning that you're looking at different sources and you're taking, like sometimes I see students writing full reports where the entire thing is plagiarized, but it's plagiarized from like a dozen different sources, so that each sentence is from a different source and it's slightly changed around. But it's very clear that they're just taking these other sources and rewriting them for their report. That's not legitimate academic scholarship. That constitutes plagiarism by the New Jersey Academic Code of Ethics. And so I'll submit that to the dean. I'm not inclined to be very lax about plagiarism because this is an ethics course. The point of this course is to teach you about how to act ethically. And so if I let you get away with cheating, I've undermined the whole course. So the first big thing is just about the Turnitin. The fact that your report comes up with hits doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get in trouble for it or anything like that. I have to look at it myself. It'll take some time. I haven't finished grading these yet, so I appreciate your patience. But the way this will work is, one more time, I'll go through and grade every report as normal, and then I'll look at the Turnitin results and see if it looks like plagiarism. And if it does, then you'll get an email from me. You'll have to go see the dean, and all that stuff gets initiated. So there's questions in the chat. My laptop screen went blank on me Friday morning and my work is on there. Laptop, you get the laptop back by tomorrow evening. Is it too late to submit the work? So no, it's not too late to submit the work. The normal late policy will apply. So technical issues like that, I mean, it's partly your responsibility to make sure that you have backups in case of technical glitches like this. This is one good reason to store everything in the cloud. Don't store stuff on your laptop, store it on the internet. So if your machine breaks, you can still have access to it. But that said, the normal late policy will apply. So there's a late penalty for 1 week after the due date. If you turn it in for 1 week after the due date, you can still get credit, but you'll get that late penalty. The late penalty also applies on the replies that you have due every week. The only thing that the late penalty doesn't work on is the weekly quizzes and the attendance. Attendance is due by Friday at the same time that the assignments are due. And the quizzes are due also on Friday at midnight. And there's no late quizzes. So I've had a couple of people email me, ask me if they could take late quizzes for reduced credit. And my answer to that is no. The quizzes, first of all, the quizzes aren't worth very many points. It's 20 points a week out of a 100-point week. So it's not a huge chunk of your grade. The other thing is that the quizzes are reading quizzes designed to keep you on track with the course, on pace with the rest of the discussion. So if you don't complete the quiz on time, then you're behind the discussion. So the penalty there is designed to keep you on track with the course. The other thing is that keeping on top of the deadlines is really your biggest assignment in the course. The grading scheme isn't too difficult. It's not that hard to get an A if you're doing all the assignments on time. So these are the kind of things that I'm not inclined to be lax on. There's other extra credit assignments to make up work that you miss. So the quiz last week was for annotated bibliography. Yeah, so that's the exception. So the normal multiple choice quizzes that you do on Moodle, those are the ones you don't get late credit for. The annotated bibliography, I will give you late credit for, and the late credit will work a little bit like late replies. But make sure you submit that annotated bibliography. So this is another thing that I've gotten a lot of emails about over the weekend. The way that I had it set up originally was that the Turnitin assignment only let you turn it in once. And so I changed that sort of at the last minute because a lot of people made mistakes in their original submission and they wanted to make changes. So I opened up a second slot in the lesson 10 assignment. I will grade, your final grade will be whatever the latest thing turned in up till the due date. So if you turn something after the due date, if you turn something before the due date, that's what I will grade. If you turn something before the due date and after the due date, I'm going to grade the thing before the due date. But if you turn in two things before the due date, then I'll just grade the last thing that you submitted. You only get one of these resubmissions on the Turnitin assignment, so use it wisely. Try not to make mistakes. But the other thing that a lot of people made this mistake just because they didn't realize this from the instructions was that I wanted you to turn in both your report and your annotated bibliography to the lesson 10 plagiarism check. A lot of people forgot to include their annotated bibliography in that check. That's fine. I'm not going to grade anyone off for doing that, but make sure you do it for lesson 11. So you're going to have to do this plagiarism check one more time. And what I want you in for lesson 11, I want your full report. That means both parts of your lesson 10 and 11, and your plagiarism, and your annotated bibliography, all 4 entries. So I want your full report turned in for lesson 11 plagiarism check. Let me say that one more time. Everything that you've written for this whole assignment, that includes both your essays and your full annotated bibliography, should be turned in for this week's lesson 11 assignment plagiarism check. Your post online, if you just want to include this new report in the post, that's fine. If you do both of them, that's also fine. But do make sure that you include all 4 entries in your annotated bibliography for this week's lesson in Moodle. So again, you have to turn in two things. You have to turn in one thing to the discussion forum. That's your lesson 11 report and your full annotated bibliography. And then for the plagiarism check, I want you to submit your full report. That means both lessons 10 and 11 essays and the full annotated bibliography. Yeah, if you have other sources, you can include those also. Remember, you don't have to do annotated entries for all of your sources, but just your four most important sources. I want full annotations and citations. Turn that all into the lesson 11 plagiarism check. I think I still need to change lesson 11 so that there's two entries. There's a main entry and then a backup entry if you make a mistake. And so I'll do that right now. I'll say right now also that the secret word for today is deadline. Deadline, one word. I'll write it in the chat, CC. So that's the Hangout secret word for this week. Remember, there's no lecture secret word for this week, because it's the same lecture from last week. Okay, so I hope that clears up any of the assignment questions. Is there a quiz for this week? The quiz is just, again, your full annotated bibliography. Turn it in as your first reply like you did last week, and there's no other quiz for this week. I know there was a lot of concern about the Turnitin assignment. I'm still doing the grading. It'll take me at least the end of the week and maybe over the weekend to finish this grading, just because there's a lot of material to go over and I have to go over all the plagiarism checking. So I appreciate your patience on that. This week is week 11, and this is the last strange week that we'll have. Next week is week 12, and we go back to the regular schedule. So next week, I'll have a little lecture on artificial intelligence. You'll have some reading selections to do, and then there'll be a normal quiz on the readings as normal. You'll do a normal post writing about whatever you want. And for the next 3 weeks, we'll be talking about artificial intelligence as structured the way that all the previous weeks have been. So this report is just the one sort of abnormal part of the schedule. We're almost through with it. We're halfway through with it. Are there any other questions that anyone has in the assignments on the Turnitin? Is there an extra, someone asks, Bara asks, is there an extra credit assignment due soon? So there are only 2 official extra credit assignments. The next one isn't due till the end of the semester, so on the 5th of May, so a month from now. So you still have some time. That extra credit assignment is, there's a documentary I'm asking you to watch. Remember, if you haven't completed the first extra credit assignment, you can still do that, the ethics of your field. You can still submit an essay for this. It'll only be worth half credit as opposed to full credit. Or I'm sorry, not half credit. It's 15 points instead of 20 points, since it's after the official deadline. But you can still get those 15 points by doing that extra credit assignment. As always, the Hangouts, the secret words for the Hangouts are extra credit also. So that's the other way that you can improve your grade. Are there any other questions about the research projects, about the assignment schedule? Do we get credit for extra credit replies? So you don't get credit for doing more than 2 replies a week in a normal thread, but for in the extra credit essays, so the way this works is there's a total of, I think, I don't remember how I'm doing the grading. So there's 2 extra credit assignments in the extra credit forum. Each one is worth 20 points maximum. And I think the way that I'm doing it is that the whole forum is worth 50 points as a maximum extra credit grade. So I'm giving I think I'm giving 5 points for every reply. So you can earn up to 50 points by doing all this extra credit work and replying to other people and so on. I wanted to give some extra credit for engaging, especially in the ethics of your field, since a lot of you are going into the same field and there's some interesting discussion in these forums about the specifics of those fields. So I want to give you some credit for that. I think I'm giving 5 points for replies, and I think you can earn a total of 50 points for the whole extra credit forum. I think that's how that works. I need to check that in the Moodle grade sheet, though. If that's not how it works, that's how I'm going to say it works. 50 points total, 40 points for the essays, and then an extra 10 points you can earn by leaving replies. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for the late video. I apologize for being late. The New Jersey Transit has been messed up. Yeah.
Professor, okay, so just to make sure, for lesson 10, right? You want the discussion for lesson, for lesson 11, you want the discussion for lesson 10 and 11, and you want the annotated bibliography all together, right? Okay.
Yeah, right. So your full report, I want that full report, both essays and your full annotated bibliography with all 4 sources. I want that to be turned in on a single document to turn it in.
Okay. Okay.
In the forums on Moodle, I won't grade you down if it's just that one essay. You don't have to put both essays if you don't want. But you do need to have the full annotated bibliography in your lesson 11 Moodle forum. So put it all in one report, in one document, and turn that in to turn it in. And then put everything up on lesson 11 Moodle also.
Okay, thanks a lot. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, I was just going to say that New Jersey Transit has been having a lot of difficulties. They had that big crash in Hoboken a few months ago. And then I think there was a crash just a few days ago where 2 trains ran into each other's sides. And then last night there was a derailing, which sent the schedule all out of whack. So I don't know if anyone's doing New Jersey Transit as their research project, but it's probably a good topic.
I just wanted to confirm the total number of replies for the discussion for number 11.
Yeah, so you should be doing 2 replies as normal in conversation with the other students. So right, the goal is that you should be reading a couple of these other reports from your fellow students. They put a lot of work into it.
Okay.
But so you'll have those 2 replies. You'll also have an additional reply of your annotated bibliography. And
okay.
The annotated bibliography reply is what'll get the 20 points for the quiz credit for this week.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so the replies for last week are due today for discussion 10. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, that's right. So I forgot what I was saying. The annotated bibliography is a separate reply, and that's what gets your 20 points. If you turn the annotated bibliography was due on Friday. Your normal replies in conversation with your peers are due tonight. I'll still grade your annotated bibliography if it was turned in late, but it'll get a late penalty. Yeah. I hope that answered all the questions. If you have any other questions, please send me an email. I'm trying to stay on top of emails. I said the secret word today. It's in the video. So thank you very much, everyone. Good luck on your final part of the report. And I'll see you all next week. What's my email address is estrada@njit.edu. It's on Moodle. It's at the top of Moodle. Right here. That's right. That's the secret word, Tracy. That's right. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.